And I know the place I'm from in Kansas, 5 generations there, was where his grandmother was born. And his grandmother worked with my grandfather in the airplane factories of World War II. Grandmother went to church with him. It was a very conservative Church of Christ kind of foundation, you know. So he comes from that background as well. But that crossroads where we came from connects Hopi land with the Maya land. And the Arkansas River, underneath Hopi, is, as John was explaining it, it's a mile-high mesa with the largest underground water aquifer on the continent, in the west at least. And the 4 main rivers come out from underneath that. The Rio Grande, the Red River, the Colorado River, and the Arkansas River. And the Arkansas River comes right through the plateau I was from and empties into the Gulf of Mexico to Maya land. And I always felt I was in the midst of that all along. And my path led me to the Maya land and worked with the Mayan elders. And 4 years ago we had a gathering that they came up and fulfilled prophecy by telling their story to a gathering of Native Americans. They asked the Hawaiian elders to come and hold center at that gathering. And in that process, the old Mayan master was there. He's so innocent. All the other priests were all in their garb and their gold and their red hats and stuff. And one little man just all disheveled off to the side, elbowing around. And I kept looking at him and saying, this is the guy with the real deal. You know? And we had time together, and he was so innocent. He says, I just don't understand why the empire, the systems that be, have been attacking the Mayans since '84, physically, trying to drive them off the lands into the cities. And again, things that people say, oh, I don't want to hear about that. Well, it's real, it's been happening, and it's the same assault on all the native peoples that's been called into service here today. And so in this regard, I told him, the only thing that the system itself, the empire, the global system, is afraid of is spiritual power. Mm-hmm. And in one sense, and this, since the time of the tilt and up until 20 years, this 10,000 year period has been owned by darkness in the systemic sense. Mm-hmm. Now, individual souls come in and you live a life and you can maintain your integrity, and even in a corrupt system, based on central banking, which always supports war, which requires all this other sacrifice, in fact, it's a corrupt system. And yet you can find your way to what the Buddhists call right livelihood. And again, if you go back to those things that Bucky talked about, the things you can endeavor in to work in, you can live a life of integrity inside that system. But the old man was really taken aback when I said, the only thing there, he says, all we want to do is do our ceremonies. I said, that's the only thing that the system is afraid of. And I'll close here by sharing back to the time at Hopi with John and Grandpa David in the mid-'80s. Understanding what I found from them was that this mesa had the corresponding mesa that John talked about in Tibetan land. It is also a mile-high mesa with the biggest underground water aquifer in its region. They have these 10-inch holes that air rushes down into and mixes with the water underneath. And you're on 6-hour cycles, just like the tides, in the sense of they're the lungs of the planet. And when it's an inhale on the Hopi side, it's exhaling on the Tibetan side. And then they shift for 6 hours. And what happens is that in the landmass of both places is uranium. And as long as the uranium is in the ground, this process is a purification process for the air and the water. Yeah. The uranium attracts lightning. Lightning electrifies the air. The electrified air is pulled down in and mixed with the underground water. It purifies the groundwater. It purifies the atmosphere. It's in balance. When you strip mine the uranium, when the Americans assaulted Hopi land for that uranium to build bombs, the Chinese assaulted Tibet for that uranium to build bombs. It's the same thing. And in that sense, when you're opening up the land to that uranium, you're drawing in radioactive elements, and so you're no longer, just like in our lungs, it is the gaseous liquid exchange. We are breathing in oxygen, it's mixing with the blood, and in and out it goes. And in '86, I learned these stories also working with Sun Bear and some others. And for the harmonic convergence in '87, a crystal came from Brazil, a pyramid-shaped crystal. And I brought it to Hawaii. We took it to ceremonies all over California. And it ended up back in Hopi land for Grandpa to take out and bury near one of these holes, which do ceremony with. And so there's this and right across the street at what used to be Malaya Gardens was one of the places that we did these ceremonies. So we're still sitting in the neighborhood where this energy is fresh and real, in real time to me, anyway. And so to understand that the earth is a living being, just like if those are the lungs of the planet, the coral reefs are the kidneys that are cleansing, the blood of the ocean. You begin to look at the earth as a living being, and we are the brain cells, the conscious reflection of that. And you will all find your own way as a pathfinder to what you need to do from here. Some of it's individual on pilgrimage, some of it will be coming together in new communities, but nobody can tell you what that is. And we all must find out for ourselves. But then, share it. And this is what this is about for me today. Thank you for giving me this opportunity just to download a little bit of this stuff and be open later for questions and any other stuff that goes on. Thank you.